Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we are diving straight into something that is quite literally a game changer for India's power sector. Today, we're unpacking the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission's DSM Third Amendment. We're going to break down 5 distinct, highly impactful commercial and operational changes to India's deviation settlement mechanism framework. But right off the bat, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the mechanisms, I need to make something crystal clear. This is a draft amendment. It was published on May 26th, which means these are proposed rules, not finalized laws just yet. And crucially, CERC is actively inviting stakeholder comments until June 26th, 2026. Keep that deadline squarely in your mind as we go through this, because if these changes impact your projects, that is your window to be heard. Okay, let's dive into this. We have 5 entirely separate pillars to cover today. First, we'll hit the draft context. Second, change 1, the daily ACP average. Third, change 2, WS sellers rules. Fourth, change 3, pumped hydro. Fifth, change 4, ESS trial runs. And finally, change 5 and the broader market signal. Section 1, the draft context. Just to make sure we're all starting from the same baseline, the Deviation Settlement Mechanism, or DSM, is basically the grid's financial rulebook. Every single generator and consumer on the grid has a specific schedule detailing how much power they'll inject or draw in 15-minute blocks. The DSM is the framework that steps in to charge penalties or pay rewards if you deviate from that schedule. It's all about enforcing scheduling accuracy, which is exactly what keeps our grids stable. Section 2. Change number 1, the daily ACP average. So under the old setup, the reference price used for calculating deviation charges, the area clearing price, or ACP, was based on a weighted average for the specific 15-minute time block where the deviation actually happened. Now, you know how incredibly volatile a single 15-minute block can be, right? A sudden demand surge and you get a massive price spike. Well, the new draft rule shifts this to a daily weighted average ACP for the entire day. This is a huge deal. It dramatically smooths out those sharp edges, reducing volatility and protecting participants from sudden price shocks in their deviation bills. Moving right along to Section 3. Change 2. The new rules for WS sellers. First, let's get precise about who this affects. The draft outlines major changes for what they call a WS seller. A WS seller is defined as a seller from a generating station based on wind or solar, or a hybrid of wind and solar, with or without storage. So, to be super clear, this isn't just limited to hybrid projects. It covers pure solar plants, pure wind plants, and hybrid plants alike. Historically, these variable projects had special DSM treatment because, well, the weather is unpredictable. But that's all changing. Here is the massive structural shift. For new projects, that special treatment is going away. For projects under the bidding route, the cutoff is a tendering or bid submission date on or after January 1st, 2027. For all other projects, the cutoff is a commercial operation date on or after January 1st, 2029. If your new project meets these conditions, you no longer get the free pass. The draft is very explicit. You will be treated strictly at par with general sellers. You are being brought entirely into general scheduling discipline. Let's just take a quick breath here for a midpoint reminder. This is still a draft amendment. These aren't locked-in laws yet. If those exact cutoff dates for WS sellers impact your project pipeline, don't forget that your window to provide feedback to CERC is open until June 26, 2026. All right, Section 4, Change 3, Pumped Hydro. This brings us to the first of 2 really critical updates for the energy storage sector. The draft specifically carves out a brand new rule for standalone energy storage systems that are pumped hydro storage plants regulated under Section 62 of the Electricity Act. Until now, there was a bit of a gap in how deviation charges applied to them specifically. To break that down structurally, it's a 2-step logic. Step 1 identifies the specific asset, Section 62 standalone pumped hydro. Step 2 links their deviation charge computation directly to the energy charge rate under Regulation 66.3 of the CERC Tariff Regulations 2024. It's a completely separate change that elegantly aligns a pumped hydro plant's deviation penalties with its actual, established tariff structure. Section 5, Change 4 deals with ESS trial runs. Now, when a plant is in its testing and commissioning phase before commercial operation, it injects what's known as infirm power into the grid. The old rules said charges for infirm power were basically zero, which created this weird commercial gray area for storage. The draft totally changes this. Now, standalone ESS developers will actually be paid for that infirm power, all the way from their first synchronization to the successful completion of their trial run. And they'll be paid at the normal rate of charges for deviations. And to really put a number on the commercial magnitude of this change, that payment is subject to a ceiling of 2 rupees per kilowatt hour. I really want to emphasize this point. This is a payment flowing directly to the storage developer. It is not a charge or a penalty against them. It totally removes the old gray area and guarantees developers know they'll be compensated during testing. Finally, Section 6, Change 5, and the broader market signal. This final administrative change is all about timelines. The old rule locked everyone into a rigid, fixed, 10-day payment deadline, right there in Regulation 10. The new draft drops that rigid rule. Instead, it creates a flexible payment timeline that's tied to whatever is stipulated in the detailed procedure for the National Deviation and Ancillary Services Pool account. Removing that fixed 10-day rule from the main regulation just gives the grid the crucial operational flexibility it needs as the central pool account system evolves. So what does this all mean when we zoom out and synthesize these 5 pillars? CERC is sending an undeniable market signal here. By shifting to a daily average, we get smoother DSM settlements with a lot less volatility. By ending special treatment for new wind, solar, and hybrid projects, they are being pulled directly into general scheduling discipline. And with specific rules for pumped hydro and trial runs, we finally have clearer commercial rules for storage. The bottom line, better forecasting and tighter scheduling are pretty much mandatory going forward. Which brings us to the big takeaway. As you review this draft and get your feedback ready before the June 26 deadline, I want you to consider your own pipeline. With special DSM treatment ending for new WS sellers and the mandate that they'll be treated at par with general sellers, you have to ask yourself, is your project's forecasting technology actually ready for general scheduling discipline? It's a question every single developer needs to be answering right now. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.